Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001, because between you and me, they're way past cool.
Hello everybody, this is Wake Angel 2001 with a special treat for you all. A double bill! That's right, this video will have two figures in it. They're of the same character, but they're for two different people. BSerrano and Zachary, who both wanted Sonic Heroes version of Rouge. Yeah, this was pretty cool. I've been looking forward to making a Rouge figure for quite some time, but then the fact that two guys wanted her at the same time, and they each decided to go a different way of making her, or at least choosing a different base figure. BSerrano wanted to go the traditional way of modifying a silver figure into Rouge, but Zachary was actually willing to give the Dr. Halsey method a shot. And I don't believe that I've actually made a Rouge the Bat for a commission with Dr. Halsey yet. The closest came to when I used a Mega Bloks figure on to make Amy Rouge. That was one of the characters from one of the hunters from that game, that thing, I don't know what the game is called. Destiny, yes. I used one of the minifigures from Destiny, which is basically the same thing. But Dr. Halsey is basically a blank female buck, which is about the right size, and I always said that it would make a pretty good Rouge figure, but this is the first time someone actually tried to commission one that way. So we have us a rare treat. You get to see me make the same figure with two different methods, and then you guys can decide which one worked out better. So this intro's gone on a little bit longer than it really should have because I got so tongue-tied, so let's go ahead and get started. The things that the figures have in common are the parts that are going to be 3D printed. The head is just the standard Rouge the Bat head. She doesn't really change her appearance molding-wise. There's a little bit of a color difference, which we'll get to later, but the head is the head. And she does have new shoes. Thank you again, Corey Sonic Fan, for hooking me up with the 3D models of Rouge the Bat's Heroes costume shoes, which, if you look at them, they're kind of like elf shoes with a heel platform. They're kind of weird. I think in context of the game that's supposed to be like a shock absorbing thing. I'm kind of thinking of Uraraka's or Uravity's little squishy shoe pads that she uses to get a good bounce when she's jumping while weightless. I think that they kind of make me think of that. But let's talk about that later, because now let's get to the divergent point, the bodies. So on the left you see Dr. Halsey's body, and on the right you see Silver's body after I've modified it to be a little bit curvier. Now, I know it looks like the Halsey body is way taller, but it's actually not by that much. It's kind of a trick of the construction. As you can see here, as I start sculpting on the important pieces, it's not the Dr. Halsey body has the hips as ball joints, which come out through the sides, while the Silver body has the hips as pin discs, which attach from the bottom. So because of this, the hips need to be attached to the Silver body while they're already there for Dr. Halsey. That's what's creating the illusion that the Dr. Halsey body is much taller than it actually is. Although there is one benefit, particularly for the way that the Rouge body is built. Oh, by the way, did any of you guys notice that Rouge's costume from Sonic Heroes is basically a corset? Like, I thought at first that it was just like a spandex affair with a boob window, kind of like Power Girl's whole deal. But as I examined it so I could actually make the sculpting and all that, I realized, like, it's a full-on corset. Rouge the Bat went into battle against the Eggman Empire wearing a corset. Or at the very least, she snuck into his lab so that she could rob him while wearing a corset. Like, I just don't think that a corset is the best outfit to wear when you need to be all sneaky and flexible, you know? Like, corsets are sort of known for being inflexible. Whatever. But yes, the big difference is that when made using the silver body, the ribs of the corset in the bottom kind of block off the movement of the waist joint. While on the Dr. Halsey body, because of the way it's shaped, the ribbing on the corset can be put above her waist joint. So when using a Dr. Halsey body, at least for this version of Rouge, I get to keep a waist joint that I lose when using a silver body. Okay, let's move on to the other parts. The Rouge does not wear shoulder-length gloves in this costume. They're just regular old gloves with the standard glove cup. I mean, sure, they have a thing on the back of them, but that would be perfect to use Sonic's or Tails' gloves. Except that this is where I had to tell you that my fodder bin is running really low. I actually didn't have any spare Tails hands for the figure, and it just... I didn't want to use Sonic hands because, like, it just feels really weird to give Rouge clenched fists. It's just not a thing that she does. And anyway, I didn't really have any spare Sonic hands either. Like, we're reaching the end of an era here. I'm running out of parts. So the Halsey body would use the 3D printed Rouge hands, while the Silver body would continue to use Silver's gloves. Although I did have to sculpt new glove cuffs on both of them. It's a little bit noobish. Glove cuffs are actually a surprisingly difficult thing to sculpt, but you know, like this is all in the interest of you know, economy of parts. I don't want to make this like a one-time thing using a proprietary piece I wouldn't be able to get later on. Also, the legs are a pretty standard affair. Here they go. Now, as you can see, the legs are both the same length when you look at them side by side. This is with the attachment of the shoes onto them and everything. Now, like I said, that's because on the Halsey body, they attach basically on the sides, while on the Silver body, they attach basically from below. We'll get to that once we do the coloring. For now, let's take a look at them heads, because there is one difference with the head. The head on the left is destined to be part of the Halsey body, and the one on the right goes on the Silver body. Now, I know at first you might be thinking that there isn't much of a difference aside from the fact that they're both wearing pink mascara, which, not the mascara, eyeshadow. Because in Heroes, Rouge wore pink eyeshadow instead of blue. It's the one time she decided to diversify her makeup. Not counting multiplayer mode stuff. But it's a little bit more obvious here in profile. As you can see, with the Halsey body, I had to be sure to drill the neck hole at a bit of an angle because the Halsey neck leans slightly forward. This gives it a more human-like posture to attach the ball-jointed neck, but attaching Rouge's head, which would basically be turning into a swivel, would result in her perpetually looking down if I just drilled straight up into the head like I normally do for Silver. So that's a little notable difference. Alright, so as we start to paint everything up, again, the body that's made from the Silver is looking surprisingly stumpy, at least in this form. But once we attach it to the legs, there is still a height difference, I will admit it. But, admit it, that's a much smaller height difference than you were expecting, right? It's actually less than 1/4 of an inch, which is, you know, pretty good. So, yes, made with the Dr. Halsey body, Rouge would come out just a little bit taller, but not by too much. This figure is actually still about the same height as any of these standard Sonic figures. It's just that when you use the Silver body, you make her a little bit shorter. I mean, I guess some people would prefer that because then Rouge isn't as tall or taller than male characters. But it's not like Rouge is ever really depicted as being short. Anyway, this video is getting a little bit overlong, so let's wrap things up. Here are her arms, all painted up properly, and both figures, of course, have wings made out of craft foam. That's going to be a standard thing, a nice flexible material that won't get in the way of their head spikes. And here are the two completed Rouge figures standing side by side. So you can see all the nuances. Like, do you like the Rouge that's a little bit shorter and stockier, perhaps implying a little bit more of a voluptuous physique? Or do you like the one that where Rouge is slightly taller and slimmer, which kind of shows off her feminine curves a little bit more? It is entirely up for you to decide. I'm not going to say that one technique is better or even easier than the other. I mean, it is a little bit of a hassle having to carve Silver's torso into a feminine hourglass shape, but when all is said and done, I was able to work on these two figures side by side, and I can't really say that one figure was more of a pain to work on than the other. So it's all up to you guys, because here you go, same character made with two different base figures. And well, that's it. Oh wow, we're actually approaching the 10-minute mark. I rarely go this long on a video that doesn't have a character backstory, so I think this would be a good time to cut it off. This is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.